You know, most organisations think that their AI problem is a technology problem. Well, my next guest has spent 30 years proving that it's not. Jeremy Blain is a leadership transformation expert, best-selling author, and the founder of Performance Works International. Let's get to it. What are you doing day to day at the moment, Jeremy? And yeah, with AI, technology, and everything in between?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And as you know, Scott, I've got a portfolio career. So I have businesses, I sit on a couple of boards, and I also have a social enterprise. And bar none, AI is impacting that. It's transforming, or should be transforming, how we're doing business, how we're engaging with our customers or those using our services, for sure. So what I find myself is that as a leader, I'm also a consultant, because I work at that intersection between digital workforce and leadership transformation. Often I'm learning just ahead of my clients in some of these areas. And in some areas, of course, some of my clients are ahead of me as well. So it's a very interesting time, A, being a consultant, but B, being a leader. It's flattening the structure in terms of our collective knowledge on the huge acceleration of AI technology, moving almost immediately from Gen AI to agents to AGI to ASI, and we're just trying to keep up.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And you've been obviously working in that leadership transformation space, as you said, for a long time. I guess with AI or not, what's some of the most interesting things you've worked on? What's something that springs to mind as a really interesting challenge or problem that you've solved in the past?
Well, the problem that I'm solving in the past and now is the movement of leadership acumen to be ready to know how to deal with AI, know how to invest, know how to manage the risks, have the cybersecurity in place, and then know how to transform and execute in the organization. And there is an acumen gap. In fact, the biggest problem I'm seeing is the progress bottleneck not being the AI itself, but it's at leadership level in the organizations. So you've got a whole lot of legacy leaders from the 20th century who are struggling to get on board, A, with the pace of change, but B, the hugely steep learning curve that they've really forgotten how to learn, some of them as well. So there's a will and skill element to that too, but it is a bottleneck. Decisions aren't being made fast enough. It becomes maybe an organizational, functional play. When you're looking at AI, we'll try it in marketing, we'll try it here, rather than a joined up approach about how do we transform our organization so that we service our customers better, we create new value that we didn't even know existed through innovation, and we bring our employees along with them, and we all learn how to do this and build our capability to it. That's the real focus at the moment, because the landscape is high tension transition for most organizations from, let's call it, kind of the old world into the AI world, beyond digital transformation into AI transformation.
That's really interesting. And you've obviously been working on digital transformation for many years. Like, how is AI impacting that? Is it just another technology? Is it the same problems we're dealing with now? Has it accelerated some of the issues that you're dealing with? Or like, how is AI different to what we've been dealing with in the past?
It's interesting. I'm about to launch some brand new research into this for boards and for C-suites, and we asked that very same question: is how is it impacting? 3/4 of all of those respondents said it's an existential or at least a major threat to our business. So it is very different to other transitions in the past, because of the speed of change, and also because of the widening capability gap between those who have got a handle on it and who are accelerating competitively, and those who are going to be lagging and moving forward. So that's actually a big part of it. Now, I personally, within my businesses and within our social enterprises, of course, I am, part of me is a learning professional too, and I've embraced that journey, and I am constantly learning. But keeping up with that learning, Scott, is really difficult with your day-to-day job. But for me, it's really helpful to apply AI into parts of my business to help drive more efficiency, help engage my customers better. So looking at different ways that we can use chatbots, more AI agents rather than bots, if you like, on our websites, or even actually as a communication point instead of working with WhatsApp or messaging apps as well. So we're looking at it more holistically, but I'm at the very beginning in many ways from that perspective, and yet many leaders are immobilized and still saying, right, rewrite this email for me or write me a LinkedIn post. That's all very good, but it is not driving our business forward.
Yeah, I hear you there. I would love to hear, by the way, if you've what technology you're using for the agents. Have you got a technology that you love to turn to at the moment?
Yes, we are developing. In fact, we're developing an agent, but a bespoke agent for a new product that we have, which is, let's call it a LinkedIn for young people, 13 to 24-year-olds, which is more based on platforms like Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram, but also has the capability to help those young people who are on it to learn, but also build their portfolios behind it. So it has to learn as it goes and has to be more responsive. So it has to be engineered in the right way behind it. So we're building that bespoke, but we're also including these in our social enterprise. And our social enterprise is diverse IT talent. And it's about changing misconceptions of what modern careers are like in business and technology these days, and how technology and AI is everywhere and unavoidable. So whether you want to be a teacher, a hairdresser, a rocket scientist, a cloud designer, then you're going to have to use technology, and it will be how you engage with your customers, how you'll make your business more efficient. So we set challenges that are based on community or societal issues like antisocial behaviour on our streets, litter, how do we kick knife crime in our towns, whatever it is, and also business challenges. And we do it through agile mindset and agile teams moving forward through a 30-hour program. So underpinning that is design thinking, and we take through the students through that and they build it. The one rule is that each of those solutions, which is an entirely human solution, must be enabled by appropriate technology. So we're starting not just to use what we did before, like portals and apps, but we're now starting to use agents and bots as a much better way of quick emergency and preventative engagement for people who may want to remain anonymous or have very sensitive needs, like they need food, they're caught in the cost of living crisis and need help now. So that's what we're building there, based on a number of platforms, actually.
That's really interesting. And I love that. I think certainly the companies we end up speaking to, so many of them are still thinking around how do we get an experience that's like ChatGPT, for example. And a lot of us think of chat first with AI, but I think, as you said, there's a really exciting layer that's just starting to be explored right now, which is kind of what can AI do behind the scenes? What can it do without even thinking, without us even interacting with it? This whole kind of hidden layer of user experience that again, I think we're just starting to get into.
Well, I agree, and that's why that the rapid move to agents, bypassing Gen AI or going deeper into Gen AI, is the right thing to do, because that's leading to artificial general intelligence, and that's going to up the ChatGPT 4.5 IQ from 155 to about 240 or whatever it is. So we're starting to surpass human intelligence, and that somewhere between the agent and the AGI is the area where we can really start to have the AIs that learn as they go within the framework that we've built within them. But we're already starting to see that with how we can interact and tailor the agents in the back end of some of these things that I've talked about just before. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating to learn, but when you appreciate the power of what it can do, the customer, whoever that customer is, or the people that we're serving, the customer experience just goes hugely, is exponential, really, because it starts to become hyper-personalized, and that's the secret, really, for us.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so interesting. I mean, you mentioned the kind of rate of change there, and I think I would imagine that's compounding this existential threat that a lot of leaders are feeling at the moment of where is this technology going and how does that impact our businesses. But I think on the flip side, as you're alluding to, it's that there's opportunity for everyone there, isn't there? If we just rethink and stay at the forefront of that.
Yeah, there is. In fact, I'll come to that, because the opportunity is one thing, how you execute is another, because you can have the best strategy on AI, but we know that 1 in 3 strategies succeed only. So 2/3 are still failing. Now, in this new research that we've got, there's an interesting data point coming out. So saying that while 75% of leaders, as I mentioned, view AI as a major existential threat to their business, which is right, nearly half of all transformation projects, 47%, have slipped, stalled, or are undergoing significant restarts. So you think about the debt that incurs, the big bet budgets maybe that have been in place. The problem with the acumen gap that I talked about before is that is driving executional failure, but also potentially the wrong budgeting decisions. So it could be money down the drain. This is why I believe that there is a leadership crisis in this area, and leaders really need to get on board with it, because it is existential, but not in the way that they're just thinking, which is, well, it's a competitive threat, is that it's a decision-making threat, which is real and present for most.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I think as well, you are in a really unique position, Jeremy, in the fact that you are obviously speaking to a lot of corporations and the leaders in those spaces, and getting that vibe from them, and equally to these young people, as you say, in the other work that you do. What's the feeling there that you're getting from young people around AI and where that's taking the future of their careers as they start to move into that space?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know about you, Scott, but I read that it's the generation which is now kind of upcoming, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, which is coming up, are the first generations who are not driving a level of results above the previous generation like it has happened before. Yeah. And we know that the threat is, we talk about in networks, the threat of these things in our hands, these smartphones. But with the sophistication of AI behind them, the real threat is not the AI itself, it's the algorithm and what the algorithms are doing. So what we're seeing with young people, we're seeing young people being impacted by the key macro challenges we're all faced with AI at the moment. And in fact, in the social enterprise, we did a really big challenge with about 80 students from New College, Swindon. And we brought in an AI expert, and about 4 of us went in here, and we looked at all of these things. And what I mean by that is AI is an existential threat, academic integrity, privacy, chatbots, deep fakes, those kind of things. And they worked around these, and we showed them how to properly use AI and apply AI and other technologies to be part of the solution but not overwhelm it, and also help them understand the high potency of very strong human-to-human skills. So by the end of it, what they'd gone through, remember this is the design thinking process, they built project management skills, problem-solving skills, communication, collaboration, storytelling, presentation with impact, but also the understanding of the technology and how you can use it more appropriately, even using AI to solve an AI problem in deep fakes. So, in fact, that's one that at the college, it was so good that the students are pitching to the college leadership for budget to make it real for the students right across Swindon, which I think is brilliant. So the education is the key element. At the moment, a lot of young people don't know what they don't know, Scott. And that is also a comment really on our academic journey at the moment. It's not evolved or evolving fast enough for the speed of need, not just for the workplace, but to prepare our kids for the future and to help them understand and navigate these things. particularly around AI, but other subjects which are going to be important for them in the future too.
Yeah, I think that level of being able to navigate the unknown and being curious to explore and that plays into technology, I think, and has for many years on all fronts. But I think it's, as you say, more important now in this AI age, isn't it, to be able to keep up, to be questioning and to use things in the right way. It's just an ever changing landscape. I guess one other question I've got is that you've obviously mentioned around organisations having a challenge with adoption. Where have you seen this work right? Like, what are some of the reasons that you've seen AI been adopted really well within an organisation?
It's where it becomes a whole business transition, not just an AI play. So this is transformation versus optimization, if you like. So where AI is being used to optimize process or efficiency or whatever in isolation, it's not necessarily impacting the broad business, or even in cases some of our customers. So when there is a real engagement at the top level at leadership, and this really does fall from the leadership, Scott, from the successes that we're seeing. You think of JP Morgan, Haier, Bosch. There's a bank, DBS Bank in Singapore, which is or Southeast Asia, which has been named the world's best AI bank. Is that the leadership holds their hand up and says, you know what, we're not the smartest people in the room anymore. Were we ever? I don't know, in brackets. I'm not entirely sure. So we need to go on a learning journey as much of our people. We need bold empowerment. We need this to be a cultural shift in the organisation. So one of the reasons why it fails in implementation is that the culture of the organisation isn't evolving as fast as the technology strategy outputs which are being designed and the transformation that within AI and how we might deal with our customers. So that's where it starts. And why that is so critical is because with leaders, one of the biggest risks stroke opportunities that legacy leaders are avoiding, but more enlightened leaders are stepping into, is experimentation, is moving away from a feel of failure and saying, actually, we've got to try some of this stuff. We don't know how it's going to work in our business. We don't know how to tailor it to our business. We cannot take an off-the-shelf AI and kind of bolt it on. It has to be bespoke. It has to answer the key question about how does this service our customer better? How do we evolve and skill up our employees? And how does it help us build a new culture as we eye the 2030s ahead? So that spirit of experimentation actually engages the rest of the organization, allows for failure. And for the enlightened leaders who create psychological safety around it, they're on the same page and they're on the same ground as their people. So their eye might be to the sky as far as the AI plan goes, but their feet are firmly on the ground. And that's where employees are far greater engaging with their leadership team, where they see this level of commitment, clarity, vulnerability, admission that we might not get it right, but hey, we're all in this together. And that counts for so much these days.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think when you mentioned around it needing to be kind of a whole organisation change, I mean, the very term makes me wonder if that's leading into some of this kind of paralysis of companies and fear of it. But I think, as you say, it's not necessarily that it's an entire step change of a company. It's a cultural thing that stems from a few key changes in how they approach things. Is that a realistic change that you see companies being able to bring about, or are some companies just so far down the road of having the opposite culture that you think it's not achievable now?
The failure rate of businesses is real. In fact, McKinsey came out with a report, was it about a year ago, at the end of, I think it was 2025 or right at the back end of 2024, it said the risk is that 75% of existing C-suite senior executive leaders will fail outright in the next 3 years before we even get to 2030, because the pace of change is so great. You know, speed is the competitive currency of today. But what we have to remember in that is that some organizations and leaders need to slow down first before they speed up. This is where because they don't know what they don't know. So they have to learn it all. It's absolutely growth mindset around this. They have to have the right if you like, perspective on what AI disruption means in their industry. They have to ask the question about organizational readiness and leadership acumen and readiness for that. They have to ask the question around cultural alignment, around what does the voice of the customer in this mean? How does this improve services? They have to get behind risk oversight. What does it mean? Cyber risk, but also risk for our people and risk for our customers. How do we protect customer trust? We have to plan for an investment velocity that we might not have seen in the last 10 years in this kind of period of uncertainty and unpredictability. And therefore, if we are making some big bets, what are the new financial metrics that measure the new value created by AI transformation and implementation, so that we then have some more strategic investment focus going forward from that? And actually, it starts though with the best companies, Scott. It starts, and I've sat in a room with a couple of leadership teams around this with an honesty check. We made a commitment back in 2023 or 2024. How are we really doing now? And the answer largely is not very well, but we acknowledge it and we're going to learn from it and do something about it. It's those leaders that sweep that under the carpet and don't change their mindset, which represents the ultimate barrier to success.
I love that. I think, there's a real question mark about boards holding companies accountable, I think, at the moment, isn't there? And actually, more than ever, I think we need to be questioning things. I think you've probably answered this neatly already, but I mean, to close off, I'd like to ask you, for leaders who are trying to work out how they should be transforming right now and staying at the forefront, what's one thing you think they should be focusing on or asking themselves?
Well, I think there is one strategic thing, which is it relates to what you just mentioned, Scott, which is asking the question, who are our advisors in our business? Who is sitting on our board? Are they fit for purpose? Now, I sit on a couple of boards, and I can't knock the level of professionalism of some of the people on there. They were really successful in business in the last century and coming into this century, but they've not lived through the scale and scope of the digital and stroke AI transformation that is here. They are not able to advise in a way that they used to advise. And the problem is with some of the boards, they're reliant on past experience. But yesterday's performance does not guarantee performance today and tomorrow. So we have to ask that question, because they might be governing the wrong things, Scott. So if we get the wrong governance in place, we're not protecting customer or employee trust. And actually the leader is at risk of failure themselves, because they may be going down a road that is completely wrong, like the budgetary elements that we talked about before. So I think that's at strategic level. And I think it's for a leader who is struggling with that transition, it's asking themselves a question, is that it's like, who am I? It's not about what I know, it's who am I? Am I a leader that can hold my hand up and admit, I'm on the same learning journey that all of you in the business are on right now. We flatten the hierarchy, let's do this together. Or are they still in a mindset of, no, I'm the boss, so I need to know this, or I'm going to hide it, or I need to get other people to come in and no, that's IT jobs. I just need a CTO and it'll all be fine. This is not fine. So it's acknowledging that personal journey that we need to do, and then making sure that we're not just saying the right things, but we're doing the right things as a leader. And not just in front of the organization, particularly when people aren't watching as well. So I'm learning, I'm engaging with others, I'm collaborating. It's a very, very, very human-centered endeavor, actually, when you talk about digital and AI transformation. That's the real difference, is that when you have high collaboration, culture evolves at the same rate, you start to communicate, you start to experiment, you start to support each other, and you start to include the customer employees in a lot of these discussions, and suddenly you make breakthroughs.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, that's great to see. And I think, as you said, it's been a big part of transformation for so long, but even more important in the rapid state of change that we see now. That's amazing. I mean, thank you ever so much, Jeremy. Where can people find out more about the great work that you're doing?
Right, so there's my business website where I'm focused on digital and AI leadership and workforce transformation is performanceworks.global. And the social enterprise I refer to is www.diversity-talent.co.uk, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn and continue the discussion.
Amazing. It's great to see all the great work that you're doing, and thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Thanks for having me.